Okay, let's see. What else? How would you describe what it was like to meet somebody who you um, really looked forward to meeting?
Well, okay, because I've been through this now, two other times. And a year ago, I met Kurt for the first time. Kurt was the first person I ever met off the internet, and it was a little weird for like a split second to readjust. And everybody always does this, like, oh, now it makes sense. Um, in the gathering, I was more nervous to meet this person and that person, and I saw a lot of this with the first time gathering people. But now I've met up. I mean, anybody who's watched my channel, who's watched your channel, they know that we've met up with each other at other gatherings. That for me isn't a big deal. The two people that I was most excited to meet, who I haven't met before, were Andy Pliskin and Maria Lilcap 68. Both dear, dear, dear friends of mine. Andy's been a friend since I started on the site, and Maria and I have been friends for not quite a year now, but the two of them I communicate with almost on a daily basis between IM and email and Skype and whatnot. Um, and it wasn't a big deal at all. Maria and I, our sense of humor, I think, translated to real time. Um, and with Andy, it was a little bit harder. It was his first meeting, so he was a little more nervous. And I'm like, no, you're just don't be nervous. You're just meeting me. This isn't a big deal. So once he got over that, and we just chilled out and did our own thing. That was really cool. So for me, it's not a big deal because I'm getting used to it. But you
Hmm.
could see the other people where it was and all the high pitched screaming when they met up with each other. I kind of don't feel that way anymore because the connection has been made with a lot of emails and video watching stuff like that.
Hmm.
Now, you've been to so many gatherings? So like, who's left that you haven't met that you wanted to meet?
Well, I mean, no matter how many gatherings you go to, there's always some people who show up to one that have never been at another one that you were at, and this is a really hard choice. I've been thinking in my head, which there were a number of people I was really looking forward to meeting that I never had before, and some of them I didn't get much time with, and others I had more time with. But I would say if I had to pick one person to talk about, just to describe the having more time with element, um, I'd have to say Jasmine, was someone I looked forward to meeting a whole lot, and it was another situation kind of like Michael, where she she was staying in a different place, and the so I didn't get as many opportunities to see her. I only saw her at the big public events, although she was at the hotel piano bar thing on the last night, and she was just as much a joy to meet in person as I imagined. She was just so vivacious and so just warm and lovable, and it was just a real joy. So, and there were several like that, but I really didn't get enough time to sit down and have a really good conversation with her, and that happened with a bunch of people.
What I thought was neat that I didn't expect is there was a handful of people I met that I actually have to go and check out their page and stuff now, but that I didn't know of at all.
Hmm.
I didn't even know who they were, and it was like a friend of a friend or somebody you start talking to, and then the subscription might come through, and you check out their page, and you're like, wow, they were really nice. And there was a handful of people like that I met that I know I'm going to check out and actually become friends with that I never had any contact with before. And those are really cool things that happen. And that's happened to me with a lot of gatherings. There were some people I chatted with at the gathering itself who I had seen around, finally put a face to a name. And that was really cool for that to happen. And that's something, you go in wanting to just do things with your own group or your own friends. Um, and for me, when you start meeting those people outside of that, that don't sub to you, you don't sub to them, and you just kind of you talk to each other because you have YouTube in common. There's a few people, a few gems that come out of that mix, and that's an exciting prospect to take you to another level. You know, with new friends and enter a whole new community of people sometimes.
Yeah, and to that end, I would say I advise anybody who's going to a gathering like this. Gary did this. There were a couple other people who did this. Bring a pad of paper and a pen, or bring your PDA that you can type things into, um, so that you can take down people's names and their usernames, because uh, you will meet people that you're going to find interesting who you'd never encountered before, and it's really great to be able to keep their information so you can look them up when you get back home.
But I would suggest not treating it like a collection of signatures either.
Hmm.
You know, you walk up to somebody, don't just have them sign your book and move on.
Right.
Because that actually gets insulting, and a lot of people don't get why you're doing it. And what I did is it was like the icebreaker to talk to people. Not always. I mean, there was a group of people. Our room was like the party room. So also the room was full, and I kind of passed the book around just to see who was in the room, so I can go back, you know, this week and see who that person was, or you hear these names, and now you can put a name to a face. So yeah, people should do that, but don't just treat it like you're collecting baseball cards either.
Yeah.
Use it as the icebreaker to walk up to people, um, or to just remember that person you talked to at the bar, and just to remember their name, so you can actually. What happened for me with a lot of people is you do that, and then you have like a 5 minute conversation, and then you check out their channel, and you realize how flippin' cool they are, and how cool their videos are, and then you start commenting and becoming friends, and then you kick yourself because you're like, why didn't I spend more time talking to so and so? That's happened to me at every gathering so far, and it just becomes an incredible set of introductions. Sometimes that's all it is. Danny, DL727, I've met now at all three gatherings I've been to. The first one in Chicago, we kind of said hello, and that was about it. Now it's like I talked to Danny. Danny's helped me out with some things. Danny's a good friend to me, but we really didn't have much of an interaction at that first meeting. So it's always can be a series of hellos that lead to something else if you're open to it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and on that, one other piece of advice that I was thinking of too is make sure when you introduce yourself to someone, give them your name, but also give them your username, because I can't tell you how many times I would go up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Mike," and they'd say, "Hi, I'm Brandon," and what's your username? Oh, it's such and such. Oh, like if you ask the username, more of the people you meet, you'll find that you are familiar with them. You may not subscribe to them, you may never have even seen any of their videos, but if they give you your username, you'll realize, oh, I've seen you in somebody's comments.
or
somewhere.
in somebody's stickam room.
Or in somebody's stickam room, yeah.
Or don't make the assumption that somebody knows you. And this isn't like it's for everybody. I had people walk up to me and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Gary," and they said, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. You learn about social graces much?
Right.
It's awkward. We're all in that situation, and you have to communicate with each other because it gets kind of ridiculous. And that was like one of my pet peeves is even if you are a subscriber or I subscribe to you, people look different in person,
mm-hmm.
or my attention may have been averted, or your videos, your face may not be in them, or your face may only be in they may not be in the last 5 that I watched or something. Don't put that crap on anybody and act like they need to figure out who you are, because it's hard, and people have, the more we do this, the more names and faces we come across, and you just have to never take anything for granted that anybody knows you, or that you know them or they know you, because some people look for recognition from you and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, and then you end up feeling this big. And it's maybe that sounds bad, and we're going to want to edit that out. I don't know. It's true though. It's true. It's like you can only know so many people and remember so many faces and names and stuff, and it's not fair for people to put that on anybody, regardless of 5 subscribers or 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make that assumption because you'll find once you introduce yourself and there's that moment of, oh, I've seen you in Stickam, or I've seen you on Twitter, or 12 Seconds, or Vloggerheads, or whatever it is, then you can make that jump. And this is how I know you. Sometimes you're just having a brain fart because you've had too much to drink the night before, and your mind is somewhere else. And
Yeah.
that's kind of been a weird gathering thing for me, is that recognition that I've had for people or they don't have, or so yeah, that's people need to learn that etiquette if you
Mm-hmm.
plan on going to these things. Which this kind of leads a little bit to that next question.